nature. With over 4 decades of changing lives, your self-discovery archaeologist, get ready to be the best of you with your host, Beverly Zymet.
Welcome to the Beverly Zymet Show, where being the best you has just gotten easier. Oh my gosh, are you in for a treat today? My guest calling in all the way from Las Vegas, Nevada, Nicole Borghi. Her and I have known each other for, a few years now. We decided we were going to take you all out into space because we are space cadets today. What we're going to talk about today is going to be really interesting because sometimes you may feel yourself being a little bit spaced out, so to speak. Can you tap a little bit into that, Nicole, of kind of what being spacey means and where we kind of lose ourselves and what this month is all about?
Well, thank you, Beverly, and thanks for having me on your show again. It's always great to chat with you and to see your guests acknowledge us on Facebook. It's awesome. Well, we can all be spacey, can't we, in the background? but we want to get really to that consciousness and the awakening. And sometimes it gets foggy, and sometimes it's not only just our health, our nutrition, our diet, or exercise, but it's where we're at mentally. And in order to have a holistic healing, in order to bring that transformation forward, we have to remember that part of that is our mental health and our mental well-being. And what great topic to start talking about today is because it's Mental Health Awareness Month. And this is a great time to bring it forward. And I know it's very near and dear to my heart because I live within this every day.
Thank you for sharing that, and I think if truth be known, every single one of us has had some kind of mental confusion going on, conflict in our own minds. Sometimes we live in this little world of denial, right?
Right.
Say, I've never been depressed. I don't get depressed. I had a perfect life. Yeah, really? Okay. Keep telling yourself that. But really, it is all about being really true to yourself, being honest with who you are. Lie to the world out here. I know you've heard me say that many times, but don't lie to yourself. It's time now to really be true and honest to yourself. We do live in this third dimensional world. We are in this world of duality, right? And it's okay. Depression is not a bad thing. It's a recognizable thing. And what are the triggers? And then what can you do to overcome that? Because it's like we have two sides of the fence here, right? But we have a center piece of harmony. When your pendulum goes all one direction or one the other direction, it's all about bringing that back into that center and knowing where you are with that. And that's the learning process of what the beauty is really in being on planet Earth and learning this stuff. We have free will and we have choice. It's time to step up to the plate and come into your full power because you are two beings. You have your power and you have your strength. Unite them. Really unite them and understand them, because a negative emotion is not a bad thing unless you allow it to step on top of your positive dreams and bury you into the abyss. The whole idea is know which direction the charge is going. So put your negative stuff on top of your positive and have it be your driving force. That's the difference. So there's 3 areas we want to kind of touch on today. You want to share what those are, Nicole?
And I always go back to these 3 areas, and it's very important in my work that I do is identifying who you are. And in order to identify who you are as a person, you have to identify also where you are. Right. Are you a victim? Are you a survivor? And are you, I believe you use martyr, and I use sometimes creator. And we can use that. Where is your power at? And in order to move forward and achieve your goals and to move past any depression or anxiety or anything that you're conquering, you have to identify where you're at, who you are in that role, and how you got there, and how can you work towards getting out of that role if need be.
Oh, very well said. Very well said. Some of you know and some of you don't, but I am an author, and the book is called The Power Formula. And there's actually 3 chapters in here, that talk about the conscious and the subconscious and stuff, and how the survival in the mind. But there's also a chapter that talks about just that, being in survival mode, being the victim or being the martyr. And those are in the lower chakras. So when you look at survival is just in existence. You just go through the motions. If you watch the animals, the instinct, of an animal, it's just survive. It's part of the ecosystem. Well, we are also a part of that ecosystem, but we have different parts of development. So rather than being in survival mode, go to the opposite. Again, we talked about duality. So instead of just being surviving, how can you get creative into thriving, right? To find
Absolutely.
that thrive instinct, right? And then you're coming up out of survival. Well, are you the victim? Because it's the victim that drove you into survival in the first place, right? That poor little me syndrome. But again, it's how can you move from the opposite of being a victim when you can move into being the victor, right?
Absolutely.
So it's overcoming that. So when you begin thriving, you can now become victorious, in conquering what you're doing. And then another role is that martyr role, where we all want to play God. I'm the savior of the world, okay? Right? Woo!
Yes.
I think I played that a time or two. It's my way or the highway. Oh my gosh, I used to
Right.
say that all the time. I really did. It's like, oh my gosh. I guess because it was like, if I needed to get it done, the only way to get it done was to do it myself. The only way to get it done right, because my way
Right.
was the right way. I had to do it myself. So you start taking all this stuff on and owning it as your own, and nobody else is capable of it. And it's like, whoa, right? That can be overwhelming.
But that thing is that when you define that as nobody else being capable, they will not show up as being capable.
No, well, you know what? And that's true, because now your mindset is there, your thought process, and that's what you're focusing on. So the ones that you want to help you are being blocked, because all of the ones that are being attracted are the ones that can't do it, just to prove you right. It's not about
yes.
being right or wrong. And so it's letting down those guards. It's removing that, because you know what? There's more than one way to skin a cat, so to speak, right? There's more than one way to get across the room. And it's learning how to delegate those things so that you're not overwhelmed in what it is that you do. It's people need people, and it's working together. So to go beyond that martyr is to learn how to be, work with this discretion, right?
Right.
And really become aware and conscientious of the people that you're bringing into your circle. Let them know what the ground rules are. They can't read your mind, right?
No.
Give them that responsibility. It's just like raising a child,
Yes.
that when that child is little, they're looking for responsibilities. They might be 2 or 3, and they're climbing up on a chair, and they're going to play in the dishwater, right? Well, you know what? Give them the responsibility at that point. They're asking for it. When you're doing the laundry and you're picking up toys and things like that, instruct them to help, because this learns responsibility, right? Don't do everything for them, because if they don't get that training at an early age, when they're in their adult age, they're going to tell you to take a flying leap. Are you right?
You know what? They are. And and they do. Are you giving them the tools for success?
Right.
But there's many times when we're talking about things like depression or mental illness, that you can give them all the tools they want, that they will choose to have another role regardless, and they will forget about that. And that's where you have to look into yourself and say, who am I being right now? Back to
Exactly.
you again, and focus that back around. Because, and you can't take the guilt or the blame in that, but what role are you playing? Now you're the survivor because you have no control.
Right.
Or now you're pretending you're the victim because you allowed them to take over, what you've established, or the rules and the boundaries that you've established. And it's just something that you just have no control of. And when you're the caretaker or the controller, always guiding the ship and always rescuing someone, they'll push away from you even more.
Right.
And now your role has changed. And can you handle that? Can you feel through that? Can you allow yourself to heal through that?
Exactly. Exactly. And that's what's coming up out of out of the depths of those three triggers, where the survival is and where the victim is and where the martyr is, to actually give yourself, to surrender, and let that go, because it really doesn't serve purpose. As you mentioned, you begin taking on the roles of others. Again, it's that basis, that solid foundation that we want to give our children, right? The children of the world, whether we're parents or not parents, it's all in that training, right? Mm-hmm. They're going to go through their facets of life regardless. But if they have that basis from the very beginning, they will come back to that solid foundation, so it's building the foundation of the world. And when you look at what's going on in today's world, it's almost as though we've all gone back into the uterus, shall we say, right? Into that growing space. And now we're all being birthed again because the door is open. How are you going to respond to the world? Right? And you talk about the mental health thing going on. The psyche has taken an impact, being locked up in these last, 6 weeks to 2 months, some maybe even longer. How is that going to impact us and everything? And I'll let you talk on that for a second, but I want to capitalize on this for a moment. Is coming up and out of this, and you mentioned the word identity. Who are you? And the real you, find that true identity of who you are. Working as an identity revelation specialist and allowing myself to be that self-discovery archaeologist, to work with you, moving through every cell of your body where all this stuff has been built, because we have created a new reality. It takes 45 days to create that, and being isolated has changed things. So who is the you coming out of this? That's not the you that went into it, because we associate by identification, right? Like, oh yeah, I was the person who went over here to work every day. Now we're not doing that. I was the person that sat next to this employee. I was the one, I did this, I did that, I went here, and all of a sudden, who are we? Right? And so it's easy to fall into not so much the martyr as much as it is the victim and the survivor. What are we going to do to thrive and to be victorious and to really move out there into the power of who we are? So you want to talk a little bit about on that and those levels, and maybe share some of the things that you've journeyed through, or as some of your clients have journeyed through, and where it's taking them and it's where it's taking you.
Yeah, and that's such it's so powerful when you really think about it. When you identified with the person in the cubicle, you identified with being the mom, or you identified with being that neighbor, or you identified with being the person that went to the grocery store, right? You had a fixed role that you allowed society to identify you as. And so you were comfortable with that. And so during that time, you never identified personally who you were in the heart. Who were you in the soul? Who were you at a soulful level? Who were you inside? And where did you come from? What was your journey that identified you and brought you to this point? What happens is when we do that, we lived with the stress and the anxiety of life every day, and we never identified who we were. So we put that on the shelf and put that aside. We shoved all of our skeletons in the closet. And so there's two different people we never identified with. We allowed that person to become the worker or the just somebody surviving in a sense every day, and maybe kind of victimizing ourselves with, oh, I have no control. And in doing that and never identifying that, you never established why you were in pain, why you were having mental angst, why you were depressed, or that you were depressed. And it's not to say, for myself, I always like to tell my clients, it's not that depression has to identify you every day from this day out. It's not that just because we are human and we have pains or we have stress and it's natural doesn't mean you have to feel it every day, right?
Right.
Like a
Right.
digestive problem. If you have a stomach ache every time you eat, you're not going to want to continue to eat that same thing every day. You know, if you eat a whole pizza by yourself and you have a stomach ache, you're not going to want to feel that pain every day. So you stop eating that or you eat less of it and alternate some other food in there, maybe a salad. But so now you've identified what that was bothering you.
Right.
You didn't do it before. And so when you went home and you cooked dinner, and that's a great thing because you're having a meal with your family and you're connecting. But are you dealing with what that pain was? Are you letting it show up? And you have to live that pain. You don't have to be the victim and live the pain over and over and over and over again. You know, like an abused spouse
Right.
that you're constantly going back at, well, I'm the victim, so that's my role in life. Okay, you identified that.
Yeah,
Let's
now
not,
it's time to get rid of it, right?
right? Yeah. So
Yeah.
you need to get rid of it. But who's the abuser? Is it you allowing that pain to you're recreating that every day. And now that you have no identity whatsoever, even an identity that someone's established for you in the workplace, now what? Now you're at home. You have, who are you? You've lost your identity and now you're left to feel that pain if you don't exercise, if you don't get out in the sun, if you don't eat right. Now you're going to wallow in that pain on the couch just watching Netflix all day, every day and binge watching. And so you're watching a show that brings up another problem. So what are your habits now? And what is causing that pain? Because now you're suffering and you shouldn't be. You shouldn't be suffering. You shouldn't be suffering alone. But if you are suffering, let's talk about it. Let's work on that transformation and get that up and get that out of you and work on that because you want to have a quality of life no matter where you are, a good quality of life.
Oh, well said there. That's for sure. Yeah, thank you for sharing that, Nicole, because it's really a message that we need to hear over and over. You know, everything that you said is nothing new, but again, it's bringing it into that forefront because there is so much static around us and stuff that is uncertainty that's going on. And living in a world of a comfort zone where, you know, certainty is kind of key because a lot of us don't like change, right?
No,
You know,
we fight it.
yeah. And so when you understand where the conflict is, and again, those inner conflicts, what has been going on? You've been spending a lot of time with you, yourself, and I, right? So, so each one of those has a little bit different role, you know, and when you can start to feel comfortable with each part of yourself, it's a lot more comfortable to step out into the unknown, right? And create the unknown what you want, you know. So the first thing is like if it's unknown, it must be something scary. Not necessarily. It's scary up here because you've created it to be that way. And again, that's the importance of really understanding what your mindset is and understanding the words that you use, understanding the actions that you take, what's buried in your old cell memory when you talk about that subconscious, you know, because it rules you. And that was built, again, through a 45-day habitual thing, a habitual belief back when you were little. And it's still ruling your life today. It doesn't, yeah, it doesn't have to, right? And that's what we're recognizing here. But again, you have to recognize it, acknowledge it. Acknowledge it that it is your truth. Because if you don't acknowledge that and accept it, the subconscious is not going to give you freedom to change it. Because it will fight to the bitter end, and it always wins over you. How many times you've had buyer's remorse, so to speak, right? And you made a choice. It's going to be different this time, right? And it does, you know, and you make all these choices, and then you go home, and you're all by yourself, and this little voice says, uh-huh. And just what is it you thought you were going to do? Gotcha. I don't think so. Because you know what? And all of a sudden, these excuses come up. The justifications come up. And then what? Then you're on the phone making calls. You know, I said I could do, I just checked my schedule. There's just no way, right?
Right.
So who won? Right. So to be able to change that on that cellular memory, that cellular level where it has to be, you've got to take away the conflict. So let the subconscious be right. It's okay. It's okay to say, hey, yeah, remember I gave you this candy bar a long time ago and it was really good. Yeah? Oh, guess what we got now? We got this new candy bar and it's bigger and better. You want some? Yeah? Okay, well, first off, you got to throw this candy bar away. Oh, no problem, all right? And you put the new candy bar in. And it really can be just that simple. But again, if you go in conflict and you say, give me this candy bar because I got a better one for you, you know what the subconscious is going to say?
No.
Not a chance, right? Not a chance. You know, think about it when you see a child. Why doesn't a child want to share? Why don't you want to share as an adult sometimes? Now, this is mine. It's mine, 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 and you can't have it. You can't have it. You can't have it. I don't care what, right? Right? So why do we do that with emotions?
Oh man, we wear our emotions. I know it feels like when you let that stress or pain go,
Right?
it feels like you've gotten a divorce.
Yeah.
It's crazy. You change your hair, you change the way you walk, you change the way you talk, but it's a good thing.
It is.
It's like you're hitting your midlife crisis. Well, for me, it's like that. And it's like I got divorced, I got the weight off. It was just that negative cloud over me all the time.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
And it's taken me 46 years to figure this out. So it's not going to happen tomorrow, no matter how easy it is.
But it has to start now. Find
Right.
that upgraded version of yourself. That's what the show's all about. Being that best you that you can be every day. What can you do? Every step they do. These are some challenges here, but they don't have to be. And you can be the victor. You don't have to be the victim. But you got to recognize it and acknowledge it. You want to get out of that victim role? Quit fighting yourself. Because
and
it's
you recognize it because you certainly acknowledge it when it's bad. Why don't you acknowledge it when it's good?
That's right. That's right. And sometimes to bear that truth, it's pretty ugly and it doesn't taste good. You know what? But if you leave it in here, when you regurgitate it and spit it out, you got that bad taste as it just kind of comes out. But the thing is, if you keep swallowing it, it keeps festering, getting bigger and bigger and more uglier and more uglier.
Oh, yeah.
And then it starts to rot and then it really tastes bad, So
Yeah.
it's about being truthful to yourself and being honest. Because just because, you don't have to be right. It's not about being right or wrong. It's about recognizing and acknowledging that the database of information that I had growing up, I did the best with what I knew. And that was part of your survival to make it to the point to where you are today. But it doesn't have to be your survival now because you know more. You have a different database. But you have to tell the child, which is the subconscious, that you're right. And thank you so much. I honor you for keeping me safe. Now it's my turn to keep you safe. So let's do this. Let's make a deal. Okay. And that's how you have to perform with that little child, that inner child of who you are. It sounds silly. But you know what? Try it. You might be amazed on how it works, right?
Absolutely. Because when you do that, you're going to change yourself. You're going to change the people around you. As you change, your relationships change. You've got to change the relationship with yourself. And it's an uphill battle. Trust me, I have fallen back down 1,000 times. But because of that, I used my stubbornness and my warrior to go back up and do it again, go back up and do it again until I've gotten it right. But it's little bit by little bit. It's easy. It's simple. But there's the hard part is doing it. The hard part is doing the homework. The hard part is getting up again and doing it. The hard part sometimes is reaching out to people and saying, okay, I get what you were telling me. Ding, 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 that little voice
that's
inside.
Right. That's right.
You got to make sure it's not that, which are you, the angel or the devil? You got to qualify, which one are you?
Well, yeah, because you know what? You're both. So which one are you allowing to impact you, right? And again, too, like you said, Nicole, this stuff that's coming up, it can be embarrassing to yourself, it can be ugly, you start beating yourself up over it. Don't do it. Everyone has the same experiences. It's just different faces, different places, because there's only so much out there. So we all have it, but we all have it in a different perception.
Absolutely.
Right? So you can change that perception of being the good, the bad, the ugly, and put it into the harmony, the balance, the securities, right?
Oh, yeah.
You have that choice again, right? which side of the fence are you on?
Exactly. But feel the pain, let it up, understand it, acknowledge it, and then move on. Don't
Say
just put it to the
goodbye.
side.
Yeah.
Say goodbye, clear it, eliminate it. Whether you're cleansing your body, cleanse your mind, cleanse your soul. You've got to do so much more.
Right.
There's different ways to get that holistic healing, but once you accept that, reach out to somebody. Because for me, when I work with my clients and we do our transformation, and I work with you getting rid of and accepting and understanding your depression and moving forward and building up, it's private. Nobody needs to know what we're going through. Nobody needs to know. It is between you and I and the universe.
Right.
Nobody has to know unless you want them to. You don't have to tag all your friends. You don't have to put it up on Facebook unless you want to.
Right.
Unless you want to understand your journey. And I understand. With a mental illness, I understand personally because I've lived with it. I've lived with family members who have had that, and I live with family members currently, and we work with it. How can you make it productive and work with it? And so when you start to understand that it's a very patient, it can sometimes be a little time consuming, but it's so much worth it. It is work. You need to do it for yourself and for your family. It's huge. And right now it's so very important that we look at each other and say, hey, I'm extending a hand out to you. Instead of hiding behind the wall and being like, oh, I'm going to peek out at my neighbor and I'm just going to pretend that you don't have a problem and run and hide. Because that means that I have to acknowledge that I might have a problem.
Right.
In my judgment of you. And that's huge too. So how far down does it really go?
Yeah, and again, it's not being in a don't put yourself in an isolation, but don't put yourself in a stigma group either, because it's not. It's all personal, right? And you say, the privacy, anytime you're working with a practitioner or someone in that field, there is that privacy policy that's there. And if you're unsure, you ask them. And if you're not feeling comfortable with the person you're speaking to, there's others out there. There's many, and it is about working through that and spending that time with someone. We all know someone in our circle, in our family, that has struggled with these things, right? Because it's a part of life. And it's how we work through that and the understanding. And it's not feeling sorry for them. It's giving a lift up. And I want to just tap a little bit into the genetic of it, right? Because when you're working with energy, because we're all one, we're all united as one in the universe, right? It's how close you are in that bloodline and what's transpiring here. So when you look at it from that perspective, it's relevant that you understand what goes on in here and how you clean up your own personal issues and the cell memory. Again, we're looking at the soul cellular structures as well as the physical cell structure and that memory. When you change in here, the world around you changes. And
huge.
It's massive. I mean, I'm second oldest of 11, right? And it was like I was the one that was like over here, like really over here in the outer space, so to speak, compared to everybody else, right? And when I would start talking about these things, my siblings were like, I was like, oh God, that's Beverly and her crazy stuff again. It's like, oh Jesus, not again, are you crazy? It's like, seriously. But it was okay. But the more I cleaned up my old database of cell stuff, right? I started seeing shifting in my mother. I started seeing shifting in my siblings. I see the changes that have happened in my children, in my grandchildren, not having to come up in that mess and stuff like that. So it just ripples. It just continues to ripple out through your bloodline and then beyond and beyond and beyond. Right?
And it's so fabulous when you can congratulate yourself for all that work that you've done for you and everyone else. Once you get past the blame and the shame,
my God,
nobody's accepting what's going on.
Those are two huge words, Nicole. My God, shame and blame, right? Oh, wow. That could be another whole show.
And it will have to be, because Beverly, I am unfortunately going to have to end on that. And I thank you so
Okay.
much for opening this up to Mental Health Awareness Month. And I just want to let people know that I will be posting videos, and I will be posting information so people can look at it and see what's going on, and maybe see, maybe they need help or know somebody that needs help.
Nicole, how can our listeners find you? I mean, now they can comment below here, click on your name and search for you and everything too, and reach out, private message you. Can they private message you?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
I'm under Nicole Borghi, and it'll be here on Facebook, and I've clicked and shared on my link too on my page. So we're watching from everywhere that we can. And
Good,
I'm
good.
everything's under Illuminate Vegas. So I want you to be
Woo!
illuminated.
She's gonna
So
illuminate Vegas.
illuminatevegas.com.
Whoa! She's gonna light up the strip, right?
Huge, huge. Everybody's got to wake up, and it's time to get woke. It's time to wake up, and it's time to
Yes.
share that with people, and do it. But don't forget, I want to leave you with one thing: laugh.
Oh
It's
my
okay
goodness.
to laugh at yourself. So
Ah,
please
I tell
remember
you,
that if you got anything.
it's it's the best laugh that you can have when you start speaking your thoughts, and we've talked about that before. You start speaking those thoughts and you hear them, you are going to have a laugh of a lifetime, because it is all about that. Laughter is the best medicine. And so, oh gosh, Nicole, thank you so much for joining us today, and bringing more awareness into that mental part of who we are, because we are a big part of mental, which is what we think is our mind, but it's our brain, and it's using that mindset, and developing the skill to know the difference between what the is and what the isn'ts are, right? And find out what your true is, and let's move out of that victim and into the victory, and let's move out of the survival and become the thriver, and let's move from playing the martyr to really working and uniting as one and coming from the heart. And that's is what I
Absolutely.
love so much about you, because you are very heartfelt, and it's just been an honor knowing you for, oh gosh, it's been years, right? To think that our journey started because I was just telling somebody today, our journey started because we went to a networking where neither one of us wanted to even show up, but there was this little voice that said, you gotta go, right? And boom, here we are, how many years later? So it's
Absolutely.
yeah, pay attention to what that little inner voice is telling you to do. So,
Absolutely.
well,
Absolutely.
Nicole,
Play through the pain. Thank you.
yes, play through the pain. So go take care of what you have to take care of, and you have a wonderful day. Go out there, be that best you that you can be.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. Have a great day.
Thanks. Bye bye. Wow, wasn't she great? Oh, I tell you, watching this little girl develop, over the last several years has just been amazing. She's so dear to my heart, and has been a beautiful inspiration to watch her grow, and to grow fast. And it is a part of that awakening. Where can you awaken? Are you ready to step out and play big? Are you ready to awaken to the real you? Right? Then comment below, private message either myself or Nicole. Let us guide you through this journey. Let us help you find and discover, really discover who it is that you are, and how you can move on to that next phase. And I showed my book earlier. It's called The Power Formula, right? Heart Mind Connection. Now you can find it on Amazon, or you can contact me directly here, and I can actually send you an autographed copy, right? So message me if you want the book. It does talk a lot about the science in what goes on, but it also talks about the emotions. And there's even a little secret at the end that's going to show you how to, become free from all of that pain, that energy that's feeding and fueling that emotion. There's a rah-rah system in there that I look. So it's the recognizing, the acknowledging, and then the releasing. And then once you have the release and you've surrendered that and gotten your relief, right? You replace it with that new database of truth, because you've emptied that cell, right? The old candy bar is gone. All right, it's time to put the new candy bar back in place, right? So you replace that with that new truth of data information that you currently have. That's your belief, and that's what's going to start playing automatically for you instead of the old stuff. That's the beauty of it. And then you accept that as your new truth. That's all in the book. It really is. It's all in the book. The Power Formula, Heart Mind Connection. Get it on Amazon or just message me and we'll get you a copy. And you know what? That's it for today's show. I hope you enjoyed it. Please comment below and let us know, what you liked most about it. Where are you in your health on your physical, your mental, your emotional, and your spiritual healings? Where are you? Let us help you on that journey to get clearer and clearer and into becoming that best you that you can be. So go out there, be the best you that I know you are, because I'm going to be the best me that I can be as well. And we'll see you all on the next show. Thanks for joining.